Hey everybody, JoJo and I are going to help you apply the CAPE standards for initial licensure. We're going to discuss some of the information that's in the instructions and then do some guided practice. Okay, so just a reminder that we love some acronyms as educators, and here's a couple. EPP, Education Preparation Provider. Um, this is like the Division of Education, College of Education at a university. Um, I don't know why they chose EPP, but they did. And that's what you'll get really familiar with that. Um, and so the standards, as you'll note within the CAPE handbook, um, there are standards for initial licensure and advanced, and we are going to focus on the initial licensure standards because once you know how to apply those, you do the same for whatever standard it is. Okay, so applying the rubric criteria. Keep it simple. First, your approach is going to be it's going to be based on the preponderance of evidence. So think about the evidence collectively. Does most of the evidence indicate that the EPP has met the criteria for that particular component? We're going to look at an example component today, and we're going to practice. So, keeping it simple, first think about is the component addressed or not addressed? And so if you think about it like that, then you have your first decision met. That's good on your decision tree. And then if you feel that the evidence has provided the evidence the EPP has provided meets the standard, then is it partially addressed or fully addressed? Again, keep it simple. All right, so let's get started. But before we do, please collect the required documents. You can find these on Canvas. Use your best professional judgment. This is a low stakes opportunity to practice reviewing a program from the perspective of a CAPE reviewer. I want to encourage you to be objective. Either it is or it isn't. You can only evaluate what is explicitly provided. In a previous life, in a previous state, the previous director of a relevant office used to say, "Don't do the program's work for them." That's it's not the kindest approach, but it does get the point across of you can only base your decision upon what the EPP has provided. You should not make any assumptions. There's not a gray area. Either they did or they didn't, and I have chosen some images to help you remember that. Okay, so you can use this resource in a couple of different ways. You can view it in its entirety without pausing it for some guided practice. For a demonstration. But I really encourage you to approach it incrementally. Make your decision and then see if it agrees with mine. And so, this is, again, it's low stakes. It's just practice. So get your required documents. These are on Canvas. You need your sample self-study, the CAPE handbook, or it's the workbook. Sorry, you know what I mean. And then your rating and evidence form. So please go get those. I'll wait. Okay, the first thing you need to do is look at the standard. And this is the General Standard 3. Now, the way that CAPE evaluations work is you are evaluated. Each component, each standard has multiple components, of course, and you are evaluated based on each of those components. So let's look at standard 3. Overall, in general, it is focusing on candidate recruitment, progression, and support. So these, remember, are students seeking initial licensure. These are your teachers who are going through an initial training program, a traditional undergraduate program, or they could be teachers seeking an alternative certification through an alternative route. Regardless, think about these as people who are becoming certified to teach for the very first time. Recruitment, progression, and support. So the EPP demonstrates the quality of candidates is a continuous and purposeful focus from recruitment to completion. The provider demonstrates that the development of candidate quality is the goal of educator preparation, and the EPP provides relevant services such as advising, remediation, and mentoring in all phases to help the candidate be successful. Okay? So that is the general gist of Standard 3. And this is just what we're doing as an example. So let's look at component R 3.3. This is what we're going to look at for some guided practice today. Competency at completion. So here is the component of Standard 3 that we're focusing on. The provider ensures that candidates possess academic competency to teach effectively with positive impact on diverse P12 students through the application of content knowledge, pedagogical skills, and technology integration in the area in which certification is sought, so elementary, secondary, etc. Multiple measures are provided, and data are disaggregated or separated and analyzed based on race, ethnicity, and such other categories as may be relevant. So I have highlighted the important terms in this component. And again, this is based on professional experience from someone who has led an EPP successfully through a CAPE review. So take that for what you will. Okay, the next thing we need to look at in this component, and again, this is in the standards workbook on page 32, the key components and the guiding questions. So please take a moment to review those, paying special attention to the key concepts. The next thing you want to focus on is the quality evidence, which is on, I believe it's page 33 of the workbook. So, component R 3.3. Quality evidence indicators are provided there. There shouldn't be any surprises based on the overall standard that we have previously reviewed, as well as the component. Now, notice that I have highlighted the word possible sources of evidence. So the term possible is included, but note the raised eyebrow. It might, this is really what they're expecting to see. There's really not a possible, there's not a lot of possibilities here. It sounds nice, but these are expectations. So take a moment to look at those. And then we're going to look at the self-study report, specifically attending to component 3.3. Okay? All right, so what I want to encourage you to do, this is on page 26 of the self-study report. I'm going to encourage you to review this carefully and make some notes about whether whether you think the EPP has demonstrated that it has addressed this standard. So first of all, just yes or no. Okay, so this portion of the self-study report appears on page 26 and 27. So I would recommend that you pause the video now and compare that to the criteria that we have just reviewed and draft your decision. And then come back. And we're back. Okay, so now we have we're going to talk through this together. So, in your opinion, did you determine whether the EPP addressed or did not address the standard? If you think they addressed it, was it fully or partially addressed? Remembering to focus on the preponderance of evidence. Does most of the evidence indicate that the EPP has addressed this component? I've included two portions that I have found particularly helpful when preparing for this review, and it paid off. So the highlighted component, the key terms in there, and then the indicators of quality evidence and the possible sources of evidence. So, what did you think? Here's what I thought. Okay, your final step in this lovely process of practice is to record your rating and evidence. Now, remember, this is low stakes. We're practicing, we're conducting a mock program evaluation here. So based on the information that the EPP provided in the narrative, and remember, initially when we talked about this, I said if the EPP refers to it in the self-study report narrative, let's assume that it is what it is. The evidence is indeed as they stated, and not a grocery list from 2015. So, given those assumptions, or given that context, I rated this as partially addressed. First of all, it was addressed. They did well, and I provided an extensive rationale, and I should, because I've done this before. I would encourage you to really, dig deep and put the time in that you are able to. Just try your best. I don't expect you to locate all the evidence that I did, but see what you can find. See if yours matched mine. Okay, so you will see that the reasons why I said this was partially addressed. Primarily, it is because although the EPP did disaggregate the data, it was not done by the required demographics, and they are quite serious about that. Again, it's not a possible source of evidence. Your data better be disaggregated by those groups that they stated. They did. Remember, go back to the standard, to the quality evidence, and or to the component 3.3, and see that it says disaggregated by race, ethnicity, and other elements that the university might find relevant. That's a paraphrase, but these are not optional. So for that fact alone, it is partially met. I did appreciate, and we took this approach as well. The university was very forthcoming. They did not try to say, oh, well, we did this and that. The CAPE reviewers are not going to be trying to hear that. So if you are approaching compliance, it is 1,000% better to report that on the front end of the process, because that's the ethical thing to do. And these people have done this before. Like they're going to know. Please take a look at the other components. The data is disaggregated, but not by the requirements. the proficiency levels are monitored, and there is evidence of action taken when the students maybe don't meet a proficiency standard. Finally, there's triangulation of the multiple measures of assessments that the EPP provided. Wow, this has been an entire 15 minutes. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening, and I will look forward to seeing you whenever we see each other again. Okay, bye.